Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Wilderness Fitness Podcast. Your host, Dr. Rob Minturn. Today I had, or actually last year, I had Courtney Prete of Her Outdoor Journey on the podcast. My intent was to release it this last fall. Obviously, that did not happen. So we had an excellent conversation about faith and exercise, mental health, and what Courtney does for work in that where she gets women together for her camps and for her basically her livelihood is connecting women. And we the conversation was not what I thought it was going to be, which was excellent. Like we went pretty much completely off script. Towards the end, she references her 2025 camps. Obviously, we did this in 2024, towards the end of 2024. And when she was talking about it, she was obviously talking about her 2025 events. So I wanted to keep that in there because she does highlight her 2025 events. They all sound incredible. And just so you guys can get a taste of what she did in 2025, in that way you have an idea of what she'll be doing again in 2026. So keep that in mind as you're listening. It is about a year late with the podcast launch, but it is good information. I think it's an excellent conversation, and it's good information for women who are looking to meet up with other like-minded women. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and we'll see you in the show. Today, we are joined by Courtney of Her Outdoor Journey. We met a couple years ago at a Mountain Archery Fest event, and I was blindsided by the whole deal because I didn't know that you guys were part of that package that I donated to. And I showed up, and I think there were nine of you. Um, just, hey, we got nine women that are ready to get on your table whenever you're ready. It's like, oh, okay. That would have been a good heads up to know. Um, but that's how we met. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago, and ever since then, I've just followed along. You had me on your podcast. Now I'm having you on mine, so I appreciate that. And I want to talk about because I didn't know that you're part of the fitness, like in the fitness space before you started Her Outdoor Journey. Am I
Yep.
correct in saying that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to touch on who you are. I already touched on how we met, and I want to talk about the background with your fitness and all that. So take it away. Who are you?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. It's fun to connect kind of with the roles reversed here. And that was a fun event. I'm glad that we got to meet at that. And you took good care of the ladies. And I know that they were all really excited to have that, extra time getting some of those kinks worked out after spending the time on the mountain. So my name is Courtney Prete, and I am the founder of Her Outdoor Journey. And, we're just a small but very expansive community of women who want to just create other opportunities for ladies to get out, to build the confidence, the knowledge, the skill. And really, like we talked about, that community. It's so important to feel like you're not only empowered by other people, but you're able to kind of empower other women through your own journey. So we started in 2017, established as a business in 2018, and we just haven't looked back. We started with doing just a couple events a year. And at the time that we started our events, there weren't a lot that we were seeing around. It was kind of uncharted waters, so to speak. And so we just kind of dipped our toe in. And originally, I thought this whole business idea was really just to create space and have these opportunities and to get women together and build those skills. And what I didn't expect from it was the camaraderie, was the sisterhood, was that like formulation of a bond that it's crazy. In 2 or 3 days, these women have told stories and kind of sometimes dished out some of their trauma or their victories or the successes or their highlights, right? But they have formed such a cool connection. And now I'm getting to kind of sit back, which is awesome, and watch these women travel all over the world together and watch them connect their families, and now their kids are getting together. And so it really goes beyond what we can do in a weekend or over the course of a week. It's really that kind of expansive network. So that's been really great. And I think for me, the progression into like building and coaching and those skills in the outdoor arena came from almost 20 years in the health and fitness space, where I did a lot of coaching, PT. And I think my love for that originally sparked by watching people. So it's kind of funny. So I'm going to give you like the back story, right? So this is like 17-year-old Courtney. One of my first jobs, I was a lifeguard, and I picked up a couple shifts midday, and it was like, the older women coming in their, the same swimsuit that they've had since the 70s, and they're getting in the water and they're going to do their, pool exercises. And then started seeing, a few younger women who were recovering from surgeries or hip injuries, and they were getting in the water and moving their bodies. And I just kind of got to be the fly on the wall watching this kind of cool little connection of ladies that were getting together to really like better their health and wellness from a whole gamut of different backgrounds. And it really intrigued me. I knew that I liked the fitness space. I was an athlete growing up, but I never really considered going into that as a career, um, until I hit a really rough patch in my own personal life with depression. And for me, finding my own personal journey with fitness is what saved me, why I'm still here today. And it was that really dark place where I wanted to give up. I just didn't want to be here anymore. I thought maybe the world would be a better place without me. And so one day I was like, okay, I know that the end is either going to be me in a grave or me bucking up, pulling up the bootstraps and doing something about it. So I went to the dollar store and I got a calendar, and I started marking an X every day that I would move my body. And I didn't know, there was no structure, there was no programming, there was nothing like really organized, nothing paid, right? I just was like, I have to move. And so the majority of the time, it was a long walk outside. And I didn't realize at the time that I was getting those benefits through exercise and through movement, but also through nature. And so the rest is kind of history. I went from, doing group exercise and spin classes at our local gyms, to really feeling like I didn't love the way that a lot of gyms operated, and I wanted to do something that I felt was a little bit more conducive of the the participants experience, their actual wellness, their actual health and fitness and overall well-being. And so I started a gym, which is a whole nother thing in itself. But that's kind of the back story in kind of how I got into the fitness arena, and then how that catapulted me into the outdoor space.
Gotcha. So I have two questions based off of that. You answered one of them like surface level. So I want to go into that one a little bit. Um, let's rewind all the way back to what you said before. Like you found exercise as your coping, as your way that
Mm-hmm.
dug you basically out of the grave. Is that because I've seen faith-based things posted on your Instagram
Mm-hmm.
stuff as well? Is that where
Yep.
you like dove down the faith? Like were you connected before and then that made you connect even deeper? Like walk me through that faith path.
Such a great question. I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah, my faith and my relationship with the Lord is something that goes back from childhood. My kids, my parents were great about, putting us in a church and getting us connected in a youth group, and we started doing mission trips to other countries young, and so I got to build that relationship and have that foundation. But probably like a lot of people, it's my faith has always been a roller coaster, right? It's like sometimes it's easy to cling to that when things are really, when you're walking through the dark times, when you're in those hurdles, and sometimes maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you're going through the hurdles, and so you shy away from whatever your spiritual or faith-based practice is. To your question, though, did I kind of cling to that faith through that process? No, not necessarily. It wasn't until I was like later in my 20s that I really kind of got back into the faith that I had grown up with, and really started to like re-nurture that love and that relationship with God.
Gotcha. How did that happen? Was that you or was that somebody else?
I walked through another really hard time. Yep. So, kind of what I had gone through in my like early, like 18 to early 20s. I went through a really traumatic experience that a lot of women go through, in my mid to late 20s, and I hit another wall. And now I had kids, and now I had a reason, not that I didn't before, but as a parent, you're like, well, how selfish would I be if I just wanted to end everything? And so that's when I really knew that in order for me to not just deal with my own hurt and that trauma that I had been through, but in order for me to not continually carry that into all of my relationships, into everything that I was as a woman. I needed to heal. And for
Mm.
me, a lot of that is in giving it to God and letting it go and praying about it and letting go of worry and letting go of all of those different feelings associated with trauma. And so that's really when I kind of rerouted myself. And from that point, thankfully, the roller coaster has really slowed down and been more of a linear path. But I think, a lot of people go through that where they're really they're walking in a very lockstep relationship with the Lord. And something throws you off, whether it's, time or your schedule or influences that come in and out of your life or stresses or loss or whatever the case is. If somebody's listening to this going, gosh, I feel the same, don't feel bad about it, because that is a part of, a lot of these relationships in not only our spiritual practices, but in our day-to-day relationships as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I think I mean, like you said, the roller coaster has seemed to flatten out a little bit, but you're always going to have those times where
Mhm.
you're going to stray away, but then how quickly you get back on track, or how quickly you
Right.
start to go. And I don't know what your view is on going to church, but I mean, you're in the outdoor space. I think you like your church is outside sometimes, and sometimes you feel connected with him a little bit more when you're out in nature and out doing that stuff, and probably maybe on your women's retreats too. Yeah, I don't know.
1,000%. Yeah. No, I,
Mm-hmm.
I think, I think community is important no matter kind of what realm that's in. I think that it's incredibly important when you deliberately put yourself in a position where you're amongst believers, you're amongst people who are going to help you be your better self in any arena, right? But I think that's really particularly important with your faith, that you're with people that will help you be a better person. I think that community is important, but there's a lot of times, and I think that that's one of the things that would throw me off is that, I would get to the weekend, I'd hustle all week, I'd get to the weekend, I'm like, I don't want to be available on Sunday. Like, I want to be in the woods. It's hunting season or it's shed hunting season or whatever the case is. And so I think those things can pull you off track. And if you're in that season, okay, well, maybe for, hunting season, you're going to kind of fill in with sermons through your podcast, or you're going to fill your cup another way. But I think that what I was doing was just like out of sight, out of mind. Like I didn't have any practice to fall back to. And it's like anything else, you have to have some sort of a routine or a regimen, because if you don't, everything just starts to spiral.
Yep. You said it beautifully. You have to have a routine with it,
But I think
something to
that
fall back on.
it's crazy because I can go out kind of in my local area and do some hunting, or we can go scout. Gosh, I haven't done any of this in forever. I feel like I've just been in a work grind right now, but it's in the remote places where I truly, truly feel the presence of something so much bigger than me, right? I just feel, and I think that too, some of it is not only just like being surrounded with God's country, like his beauty, the creations that he's made and how divine and beautiful all these things are, but it's also the appreciation that my life is so insignificant out there, right? You're
Mhm.
not worried about what somebody thinks about your post on social media, or, what your bank account's doing, or, if the house is clean, if your partner's happy. You're just like in the wild trying not to get eaten by a bear or like freeze to death, or, you know what I mean? Like stay comfortable and
Yeah.
survive. And so the things that you have to worry about, the things that you have to think about, your surroundings, your environment, it all changes so drastically that you have no other choice but to just soak it in for what it is.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's getting away from all those stressors. Like life is very simple. And I've talked about that with some patients of mine because they're like, you do some pretty wild stuff. I'm like, it is the only way that I can do my job. Like I love my job, but it's the only way that I can do it effectively is because I get away from all the stressors that is like this job. It's stressful trying to help someone heal from hurting. Um,
Yeah.
and when I go out to those places, like I can just decompress. It's simple, survive. That
Mm-hmm.
like eat, drink, sleep. That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Hike around and soak in the views. So life gets
Right.
very simple when you're in the back country. Um, with that, like this conversation took a different route than what I thought it was going to, which is totally fine. Like I'm glad it did. Um, with that, what do you like, is that incorporated at all into your retreats? Like, is there a faith-based part of your retreats, or is there one that has more faith a part of it for those maybe who are looking for that? And then you have some that aren't necessarily focused on that at all. Do you have those divided out at all?
It's such a interesting time for you to ask me this because this is something I have been really sitting with. And I don't know, for personal introspection reasons, I've been trying to assess. I've always, I'm going to step back from what I was about to say and say, I've always felt like I'm more like kindling, like that piece of tinder, right? Like I want to be a light to somebody, but the person who's going to approach me or come to a camp or engage in a conversation with me, I want them to feel light. I want them to feel positivity. I want them to feel encouraged and love. And if I approach every conversation with like God this and religion that, right? Like I think that it's so easy for a lot of us to put up walls like, whoa, hold on, that's not the conversation. I just wanted to like chat, or I just wanted to come to a camp. And so I think that yes and no. So all of our camps definitely are run, whether it's by me or one of our guides or somebody else, with this approach of, you know, um, a God centered atmosphere, but we might not be talking about God. We might not be, talking church and all of these things. It might come up, right? But we also just want to leave the playing field, that environment, welcome to anybody. I don't ever want anybody, no matter what they believe in or don't believe or how they, whatever the case is, right? Like we live in a crazy world right now. I just want to love people. I just want to love people and let them come in and have them be in a spot that's safe and comfortable. And we're not isolating anybody or highlighting any insecurity for people. So we do, commonly pray before, our retreat begins, especially if it's a hunt, like pray for safety, pray for all of those things. But if somebody comes in and they don't have a relationship with the Lord, it's no big deal. Like we're not going to make anybody feel uncomfortable. We are working though, to kind of expand on that, to have more retreats and experiences that are Christ centered, that are deliberately focused on building that relationship with the Lord.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So you're just expanding your horizons then.
We really are. Yep.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Um, you're a mom of, is it two boys?
Two boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen you've posted about them. Like, you're crazy busy. You hunt, you run this business, you're building a house, you have two kids that were in sports. You still find time to exercise and all of that stuff. Um, and do self-care. And like, I think your sister's a hairstylist. And so sometimes
Yep.
you go up and have your hair done by her. What tips do you have for moms to create this time? Because we're all busy. No one
Mm-hmm.
has the time for anything, right? What tips
Right.
do you have for moms that, whether new or old, or new moms or moms that have kids in their teens like you, for creating time for that exercise or creating time to go hunt, creating time for the self care stuff when the mom is, like, in a traditional sense, like the homemaker, and usually the
Sure.
guy goes out and hunts, and then the mom is kind of stuck at home. I have a coworker. The reason I say that is because I have a coworker that her husband was elk hunting and then went deer hunting, has not been home, and she was getting frustrated. We had this venting conversation on Friday. She's like, I need time to do me. She doesn't hunt, but she's like, I just need time to do stuff for myself, and I can't get
Mhm.
that because he's always gone. How do you do that? Because your husband was also gone to Alaska, right?
Yeah. Is there one good answer for this? There's probably a lot of really good advice out there and good kind of strategies, if you will, for creating you time, right? That self care, whether that's, reading a book or taking a bath or working out. But I think more importantly than what those specific strategies are, I want to just say, please know that life is all about seasons, right? It's all in seasons. And there are going to be some moments in your life where you have more time, where you have more availability, where you have more energy, where you have more to give, to put out there. So if you show up one day and you've got 100%, right on. That's great. Celebrate that. If you show up one day and you've got 5%, do that 5% and know that you're doing what you can do. Um, I think that it can be really easy to, kind of get a few years down the road and go, gosh, I used to be really in shape, or I so fast, or so fit, or so lean, or whatever the case is. But you miss getting to that next phase of life where maybe you are a little squishier, or you're a little slower, or you're a little more tired. And instead of appreciating maybe why you got to that place, or what you've done, what you've achieved to get there, maybe that's having a family or growing a business or nurturing relationships. I think that we often don't look at the things that got us to that place with appreciation. It's almost more like regret, or I wish I could go back. And so maybe it's sitting a little bit more in appreciation for what you have now. Because I can tell you this, as a mom of two teenage boys, one of them who has graduated, who is living on their own, who now moved out of the house, right? This last summer, it goes so fast, so I know it's not easy to hear, like, yeah, you're just going to have to root into your family a little bit more right now, or you're going to have to make some of those sacrifices, but it's so true. It goes so quickly, and life is just rolling in seasons. So try to do whatever you can to enjoy it. I know it's so much easier said than done, and trust me, I am in the same season right now of my life, same exact season, where I find myself going, man, I wish I just had a little bit more time to devote to unplugging or to my fitness, or gosh, I have this role. I've never had this role before. That's okay. It's because I'm doing something different with my life right now. Um, but to give somebody a little bit more, less of the feel goods and a little bit more of the tactical stuff, I would say some of it comes down to discipline, because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And I'm not discrediting anybody's efforts or work or workload or bandwidth or anything, but it goes back to that 5%, right? If you've got 5 minutes in a day, then that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to just have to do your best with that time that you have, the energy that you have, the schedule. And outside of that, if you're just really needing that alone time specifically for parents, I would say do your best to find a safe childcare, helper, babysitter, whatever that can be, to step into your place where you can go, I need 15 minutes to go for a walk, or I need a little bit of time where I can go do something for myself, because it is really hard if you don't have any time to unplug. You just get beat down, and everything gets worse, right? When we get tired, when we start pouring more out of our cups than we get poured back into, everything gets real hard and emotional, right? And that can take a toll on your relationships, on your sleep, on your overall health and wellness. Um, so I would just say try to find a community of people that you can lean on to just pour back into you. This is the little thing that I did when my kids were real young, is I just got goofy and fun with them. I would take them to a park, we would run around, I would try to do a few pull-up sets or something when my kids were playing, and you just have to get really dang creative.
Yeah, yeah, I think yeah, exactly. A buddy of mine, he gets up early with the kids, and while they're eating breakfast, he'll go out and do a set. Like all their exercise equipment is outside, so he'll go out and do a set, and then come back in, stir the eggs.
Yep.
Then he'll serve them up, and then he'll go out and do another set while they're eating. And then when they're done eating, he'll clean it up and then go out and do another set while they're washing their hands or something. So it's, yeah, very creative. That's a good way to put it.
And it's hard sometimes, because sure, you might want that 30 minutes or an hour, uninterrupted. And that's, yes, you should be able to have that. But again, some seasons of life don't give you that. So try to reframe the mindset to going, I'm okay if I get 30 minutes, but it's in 5 minute blocks, because
Yeah.
it's all going to add up to being better than nothing for sure, for your physical health, for your mental health, for all of the things. But also, if you can, and I know that the alone time is great, they, especially, if you're raising kids, they are looking up to you, they're watching you. Those moms, those dads, those guardians, those kiddos, those youngsters, they are watching you, whether they're your kids or they're community kids or whatever the case is, they're watching you, right? Get them involved, get them kind of moving their bodies, get them engaged in it, because if it becomes something where your family gets healthier, if they start wanting to move more, if you guys start having hobbies and habits that are more active, right? It's going to get easier over time.
Yep. Yeah, and getting them involved, that just makes it easier for everybody. And then if you can create, like, show them that exercise does not have to be boring, it can be fun. That's
Hmm.
just going to create an overall better environment at home too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Especially for, I mean, go
I
ahead.
think a lot of times too, we feel like we've got to go to a gym for it to be fitness, or we've got to have a very strict programming or, a professional writing out these things. And that is great. But sometimes finances don't allow that. Sometimes schedules don't allow that. So do what you can to get creative, to be flexible, and to just know that this year is not going to look like next year and the 5 years down the road and the 10 years down the road. And just do what you can in the moment. And hey, give yourself a whole heap of grace when you need to.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, it's a season. It's not going to last forever. It might
Yep.
last a long time, but it's not going to last forever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is your go to? Like, you've got 15 minutes of peace and quiet between all your meetings, traveling, hunting, kids, all that stuff. What is your go to for 15 minutes?
Walking is really my therapy. Yeah, I'll hit the treadmill if I need to, if it's like really limited where I don't even have time to drive down the road to the trailhead or whatever, but just moving my body, getting outside, fresh air, opening the lungs, moving the legs, stretching out my back, all of those things are definitely um that's kind of my vice is going for a walk. Actually, funny story. The other day I must really like walking because I mentioned something and hey, we'll go do this and we'll just go for a little walk with the dogs afterwards, talking to my kid. He's like, "Mom, you really like walking."
That's your go to.
It's my go-to.
Yeah. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. And you live in a beautiful part of the country too, because
Yeah.
is it near Eugene?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you live in a beautiful part of the country. So if you can go walk outside, there's, or yeah, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Anything else you wanted to touch on before we start highlighting some HOJ stuff? You
Um,
can't, we kind of blanketed all this stuff into one like
we kind of
blanket.
did.
So yeah, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'd rather like, it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be super long.
Yeah, I just really hope people know that it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be expensive, it doesn't have to be long duration. Like working on yourself, pouring into your cup again, whether that's physical, like a physical movement, a fitness routine, or it's more of like pouring into your mental, spiritual health. Give yourself what you can in those moments. I just want to leave people with that because I know that, like I said, sometimes I'm in that season too where I'm like, gosh, I only got, 12 and a half minutes in the gym before I had to go back and, whatever the case. Um, it's hard, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And the last thing to kind of highlight on that is it's all about discipline, right? We have the time for what we make room or what we make priorities in our life.
Yep.
So make that discipline, get in the habit, stick to it. You got this.
Yeah. Yeah. A pastor. So I travel around all over the place. So this new church here, he had, it was the very first sermon or church service that I went to at this church. He had a big glass cup, and then he had a bunch of like pretty much ornaments in there, and it filled the cup up. And because he was talking about how can people fit in this instance is how can people fit Jesus into their life when they say they don't have time? Like, everybody's got a million things going on, right? He took smaller like pebbles and poured them in, and then he took
Mm-hmm.
smaller marbles and poured them in. Then he took smaller pebbles and poured them on top of that. It's like these little spaces in between all of this stuff going on. It might not be like 30 to 60 minutes, like you said. It might be 5 minutes, but whether it's God or whether it's your fitness or whether it's reading a book, whether it's doing a painting, if that's something that's therapeutic to you, if you want to paint, if you have 5 minutes, go do it. That
Yeah.
5 minutes, like 5 minutes for 2 months, that's quite a bit of painting. That's quite a bit of exercise.
Yeah.
So it will just build on top of itself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Um, let's highlight some of your 2025 events.
Oh my
Is it,
gosh. They're so
was it,
exciting. My head might pop off. I like it's crazy because as we're building out these events, I'm just like, I, how do I go to all of them? Like, I want to go to all of these different things. So I'm glad you bring that up. We're doing some exciting things. We have a variety of stuff, Rob, from, destination adventure retreats that are week long and crazy, wildly beautiful places to, 2 or 3 day clinics where you can come in and it's all hands on skill building stuff. So we've got a little bit of something for everybody this year. We're also expanding our guided hunts. So we're doing a few more guided hunts and fishing trips, which actually launch this coming Friday. So depending on when this airs, this we'll probably have those launched. And then we're doing something that is it's really been on my heart. I want to a lot of these are paid events. You've got to fork out some cash to come and be a part of them. But I spent a lot of time as a single mom without 2 pennies to rub together, right? Like we were sitting on a dollar store tablecloth and that was our table, right? So I understand that sometimes the people who need these experiences and this connection the most don't really have the means to make it happen. So we're working on some programs right now that will be allowing sponsorship for people to come in and do some of these events, as well as a lot more like meet and greet style free things that people can show up and become involved in.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, if you had to choose one to go to for someone who's like they listen to this, they don't know who you are from Adam until they listen to this. If there was one retreat to go to, they don't really hunt, but they want to experience something new. They've never been, let's go the Midwest. They've never been outside of the Midwest. They want to choose one of your events. If you had to choose one, what would it be?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. That's the hardest question I've been asked in a very long time. Okay, so I would say for the person who's not necessarily a hunter but wants to get outdoors, explore, coming from the Midwest, I would say I feel selfish, but I'd say come with me to Alaska. Alaska is one of our just bar none, like most adventure filled, most stunningly breathtaking. Like we're going on an ATV glacier tour where we go up the Knik Valley. We like mob these things. Like it's safe, it's easy. The girls are all like, whether they're on a quad or they're in a UTV, they're like all in charge of driving these UTVs. We then the next day we go on a horseback ride. We go fish the Kenai River. They're taking home like boxes of like pristine, wild caught Alaska fish. We're flying out in a bush plane to take this stunning bear tour and get to fish with the bears right next to you, take selfies with the bears, whatever you want to do. There's so much good stuff packed into that trip. So I would definitely say that one, but I also have to I can't choose one. So I'm going to say one more. For somebody listening in that really wants to take control of their health and wellness, I would say come into one of our wellness retreats will be kind of that ultimate reset, if you will, to get the nervous system calmed down, to kind of down regulate. We've got a lot of inputs and a lot of noise happening around us. Many of us are very busy with overwhelming schedules. And I think that if somebody's wanting to just kind of tackle their health and wellness, one of our wellness retreats would be the next stop.
Right on. Yeah, I'm looking at the Alaska trip right now. I saw it on Instagram last year, but I'm looking at your event page right now, and there's a picture of all the ladies there, and there's a grizzly in the background with the mountains and the landscape. Yeah,
Yeah,
does not
it's pretty
suck.
incredible.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
have been told though, I've been told this many times by lots of different people that HOJ, our events need to come with a disclaimer. So I'm just going to put this out there. If you don't want to have fun, if you don't want to find a new sisterhood of like really empowering, awesome ladies, this might not be for you.
Perfect. I won't edit that piece out. Do they need to be in shape? Are there any events or any events that, yeah, or get-togethers that they need any sort of fitness component to it?
No, not for the majority of them. I would say that we really try to work with people where they are. People can just show up as they are in their whatever form, whatever shape that they, come in, and they're welcome to be there. We always modify anything, whether that's going hiking. We've got optional hikes for every level. So no, show up as you are and we'll meet you there.
Perfect. How do they get a hold of you?
You could reach out on our website. We've got a contact form there. It's heroutdoorjourney.com. We're also pretty active on Instagram. It's her outdoor journey _ and always feel free to pop in. I totally understand not everybody's going to be able to come to events. That's okay. We can still connect. You can still jump into this community. We've got a Facebook group going as well. everything you can find us at is Her Outdoor Journey.
Sweet. And for those listening, I will put that stuff in the show notes so that way you guys don't have to look for it. I'll just make it clickable. So you
Awesome.
guys don't have to search for that at all. Sweet. Anything else you want to chat about?
I just want to say thank you for, creating space for people to share their stories, through your podcast, but also just through what you're doing with work and your PT and the way that you continually show up for women, kind of meeting them where they're at with whatever health stuff that they've got going on, with whatever they have to work on. It's so nice to see more people like yourself creating this safe spot for women to come and have resources.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for having me, Rob.